Hello and welcome back to the Academic Society. It's Toyin here and I'm excited to share this video talking about a major problem that we typically have in grad school, and I still have it today: procrastination. So the question is, do you struggle with procrastination? Have you ever procrastinated? The answer is probably yes. But the real question that I want to ask is procrastination a weekly issue for you? Do you feel like you're struggling with procrastination every single week? That was definitely the case for me as a new grad student. After I got beyond being very excited about grad school, I started procrastinating because I started struggling in some of my classes, and so it became a weekly battle. But I was able to figure that out when I was a grad student who had a lot of coursework, because I had all these deadlines that I just had to get done. It really became a big issue when I finished my coursework and moved into research and writing my dissertation, where I had all of this unstructured time where, yes, I could work, but also nothing would happen if I didn't work. So after I overcame procrastination when I first started, then in like my third and fourth year of grad school, procrastination hit again. And it felt like a battle that I was doomed to lose every single week. So in this video, I'm going to share how to actually beat procrastination, and then also 5 unique strategies for grad students that you can apply to overcome procrastination. So if you're interested in that, keep watching this video. So I'm Toyin, the founder of the Academic Society. I got my PhD in math and landed my dream job as a lecturer at a university. And I also create these videos for academics and grad students on time management, productivity, as well as my academic lifestyle. So like I mentioned, I'm going to share how to really beat procrastination, as well as 5 unique strategies just for grad students that you can apply to help you beat procrastination. So I was saying how it felt like I was doomed to procrastinate every single week until I called out procrastination for what it really was for me. It was a form of self-sabotage. And maybe it was a fear of failure, maybe it was the fear of success, but I was sabotaging myself by not actually getting my work done. And so procrastination can become really, really harmful to our grad school experience and really harmful for our grad school success. But the trickiest part about procrastination is that it can take many different forms. So it's hard to recognize exactly what's going on and why you're experiencing procrastination. All right, so what can procrastination look like in grad school? Maybe you have a paper due tomorrow, so you think, oh, this is the perfect time to clean my apartment. I can't do work unless my apartment is clean. Or maybe you need to update your advisor on your progress in your research. But then you think, oh, actually, let me organize all of the articles on my computer in nice, neat folders. That will help me get my research done. Maybe you have final exams next week and you think, oh, you know what? This is the perfect time to start a new show on Netflix and binge it all weekend. Okay, was that a little too real? That's definitely what happens to me. I'm definitely speaking from experience. But have you noticed that once you finally stop procrastinating and actually do the work, you find, oh, it didn't take as long as I expected it to, or it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, or this is way easier than I made it out to be in my mind. I could have done this days ago. You end up finding that the task you have been avoiding is not as big or as bad as you made it out to be in your head. Why is that? So what could be the solution? Time management, of course. I know, sounds so boring. Actually, time management isn't really the solution. Yes, time management is helpful, but all the time management in the world won't stop you from procrastinating. It's so easy to think that time management skills will keep you from procrastinating. But is that really the answer? I found this quote from this therapist. His name is Dr. Alex Abdel-Malik, and he says that procrastination manifests itself in how we manage time, but it's not primarily about how we manage time. So it looks like we're managing our time poorly, but that's not really what procrastination is about. So here's the good news. Procrastination is actually just an avoidance strategy. and it's caused by a number of different factors. But the key is it's a strategy. So how do you stop a strategy? Well, you just apply a different strategy, right? Just do something else. So let's talk about these 5 strategies that you can apply when you are experiencing procrastination. And this is going to be specific to the cause of procrastination. So this may be different for each person. You may find that you connect with one or maybe all 5 of these, maybe only 2 of these. So let's walk through them and talk about how to overcome them and beat procrastination. All right, so the first reason why you may be procrastination is just simply task aversion. So have you ever put off writing an email or grading papers or the initial research that you need to do to start writing a paper? This type of procrastination could come from task aversion. And so this is when you don't do something because you kind of don't feel like it, but really you think it may be a waste of time or not that important in the long run. So maybe it's administration work or your TA work, like grading papers. It's like, how does this really affect me in my grad school experience? So it's easy to avoid these tasks because you don't value them very much, and that's okay. So without a strong motivation to complete that task, you end up avoiding it and procrastinating. This happens to me all the time. So how do I overcome task aversion? So here's a strategy that I like to apply. So one thing that I do is I like to give myself a very small window of time to do the thing that I don't feel like doing. So for example, if I have a meeting starting at 10:30, I will start the task that I don't like doing at either 10 or 9:30 so that I can say, oh, well, I know I need to stop doing it by this time. It won't feel like it's going to take forever. And you often find that it actually doesn't take that long to get things done. So one thing that I avoid doing, this may sound bad, is writing letters of recommendation. So often I'm doing my normal work, prepping for class, and a student will email me, will you write me a letter of recommendation for this thing? And it's just like, I'm doing something else. And I have to pin the email so I don't forget about it, but then I have to remember the student, think about how they did in my class. I typically set up a meeting with them. It just feels like a lot. And in the grand scheme of things, writing letters of recommendation isn't going to get me promoted, but also it's a good thing to do, right? But I typically end up waiting almost until the last minute to write a letter of recommendation. This is that task aversion. So what I'll do is I'll say, oh, I have something scheduled at this time. Let me go and write this letter of recommendation and finish it before I have to do this next thing. And that's typically enough motivation to get me to actually do the thing and not procrastinate. All right, so the second cause of procrastination may even be a lack of confidence. And so this can be related to imposter syndrome. But sometimes we procrastinate because we doubt our ability to actually be able to do the task at hand. We don't believe that we can actually do the thing. So we procrastinate. Have you ever felt unequipped or unprepared to do an assignment that you've been given? Did you procrastinate on that assignment? It's totally normal. So in grad school, we're often given things that we have never done before or things that we are afraid to do and things that we struggle in doing. That's part of the grad school experience. We're always challenged to do things that we may not feel capable to do on our own. And so instead of reaching out and asking for help, we just struggle to get started instead. And so that's where the procrastination happens. All right, so how can you get your work done despite a low self-confidence in being able to get it done? Like you don't believe that you can, or you don't think that it'll be easy for you. All right, so something that helps me when I'm feeling like I can't do something is just to talk through the whole process with someone. And it doesn't even have to be a professor. Typically my friend or someone else in my program, I would say, I'm unsure about this project. Can I just talk about it? And I would call them on the phone or meet in person and just say, all right, here's the problem. I'm worried about getting started. This is what I think could work. And usually talking through it all gives me an idea on how to get started or makes me realize, oh, I could actually do it. But a pro tip is to ask someone who has done the thing that you're trying to do before, like a fellow grad student or maybe your professor or your advisor, right? I know we often forget this, but don't forget you're a graduate student. Emphasis on student. You are not supposed to know all the things already or else you would already have your degree, right? It's okay to ask for help. You are expected to ask for help. You are a student. All right, third on my list is the fear of failure, and this is pretty common. I did a whole video about the fear of failure. So I'll link it here in case you want to check that out. But the fear of failure is a great reason to procrastinate, because if you're afraid to fail, if you're afraid to do something and you're afraid that you're going to fail, of course the logical step is to avoid doing that thing so that you don't actually fail. But in the avoidance, that will lead to the failure, right? So there are many ways to feel like a failure in grad school. Like I mentioned, I've created a video on this. But the key is you can't let these roadblocks keep you from graduating. Remember, once you have your degree, no one will care about or even learn about the little failures that you had throughout your grad school experience. So how do you overcome the fear of failure in grad school? Number one, analyze all possible outcomes. Write down what's going to happen if you do fail. What's going to happen if you do succeed? Make a pros and cons list of what's going on. That can be helpful just to see it out, and maybe it won't feel as big as you are making it out to be. Also, learn to think more positively. What if you do an amazing job on the thing that you're avoiding? How could that better make your grad school experience even better? How could that actually build your confidence? So thinking more positively. Look at the worst case scenario. So the opposite. All right, what's the worst that could happen if you fail at this thing? Maybe you have to redo it. Maybe you get a bad grade. Is that going to affect your whole life? Something to think about. Also have a backup plan. I used to have backup plans all the time in grad school. Like, if I don't pass my qualifying exams, what's my backup plan? Well, I'll just get a master's. Maybe I'll teach at a community college. I would have a backup plan at every stage. I would never need it, but I would always have one, and that just kind of helped me feel better. So I just wanted to say, remember, failure is a part of the grad school process. Every grad student experiences failure in different ways. Just don't give up. You can do this. All right, next is perfectionism. So I know a lot of grad students can be perfectionists, and that can cause procrastination. Of course, you want your work to be high quality. Of course, you want to think deeply about what you're doing so that you submit really good work. But what happens when grad school requires you to do something different than you've ever done before, or something different than you ever experienced, and you don't know if you can submit quality work? Right? This is where the perfectionism makes you want to procrastinate. Perfectionists will often put off tasks until they know that they can get it right, until they know that they can meet their own very high expectations, and that's what causes the procrastination. Unfortunately, you may not have enough time to really understand what's happening and to really get it perfect on the first try. So how do you beat perfectionism? You just have to force yourself to actually start. Even if it's a very small step, just starting will help you. It'll help you overcome the perfectionism. So what I like to do is reverse engineer my goals. So for example, if I have a goal to do something, I'll think, all right, before it's done, what's the step that needs to get done before that? What's the step that needs to get done before that? And do like a backwards map until I come up with the tiniest, smallest first step. Maybe it's just like opening the computer and reading the assignment. Getting that done can like make you feel really good. Like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Let me try the next step and the next step. And then once you get the ball rolling and have a few wins, you're like, oh, well, I can do more. I can get this done. All right, finally, advisor or professor relationships can cause you to procrastinate. So an uneasy relationship with your advisor or your professor can cause you to not actually want to do your work because you don't like them, especially if making progress actually requires you to interact with your professor or advisor. So it can feel easier to just avoid the whole thing altogether. Procrastination. So if you're feeling this way, it may be worth it to take some time to journal out like why you're feeling this way. What is it about the professor or advisor that is making you feel some type of way about it? Maybe it's not a great situation, or maybe you are, maybe it's related to something you've experienced in your past. But I find journaling it out and writing things out really helped me. So the question becomes, is there a way that you can navigate your interactions so that it doesn't trigger you? For me, I didn't really have any terrible relationships, but I was very nervous to meet with my advisor and talk about my progress in my research. I never wanted my advisor to think that I wasn't getting work done or that I wasn't making progress, even if I was confused. So one thing that helped me is I didn't want to look like I was unprepared in front of my advisor, so I came up with this whole like advisor meeting template for meeting with my advisor, just to show what I've been thinking about, what I've done, and like get a clear plan for our next meeting. That really helped me in my interactions. So I will say, if you are struggling with an advisor or professor beyond very surface level things, it may be worth it to talk with someone else in your department about it. But if it's something that maybe you feel insecure about talking with your advisor, your professor, I think journaling it out can really help. All right, so I hope that this video was helpful. If you find that you struggle with procrastination and you need a little boost, I think my program called Focus will be very beneficial to you. So it's a productivity and accountability program for grad students, and I'll put a link for it in the description of this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, consider subscribing. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I create new videos every single Sunday, and I will see you next week. Have a wonderful day. Bye.